ever thought about killing your friends? Well, I've got the game just for you. Hi, my name is Nick, and I like to nerd out over TTRPGs. If you want to nerd out with me, then you should go down there and headbutt that like and subscribe button. And if you want to check out more of my games and content, then you can go down to the link in the description for my Patreon. Now, I'm going to teach you how to be a Ghost Master. First, what is a Ghost Master? A Ghost Master is the game master of my new game, Plasmarolia. What does the Ghost Master do? The Ghost Master is in charge of the ghost and how it moves and interacts with the environment and the players. The Game Master is also the referee of the game, meaning keeping track of the rules and helping out the players and giving them information about what to do. Alright, so before I teach you how to do anything as a Ghost Master, you're going to need to go back and watch the players video to learn how the players use their dice, how they roll, and the basics of the game, Plasmarolia. And then you need to come back here, and then you can learn how to play as the Ghost Master specifically. Haunt score is the difficulty setting for each location you go to with your players. This is going to be the number your players have to roll over with 2 dice and bonuses to get any proof of what kind of ghost is in that location. So if you want it to be an easy building, then you can put it at 10. If you want it to be a medium building, you can put it at 12. And if you want to put it at hard, then you can put it at 14. This can always change or be a spectrum of numbers if you want to look further at the Ghost Abilities pamphlet. Now that we know what a haunt score is, let's move on and prep our first location as a Ghost Master. Before we start prepping our location, we're going to need to grab a few things. We're going to need to grab 2 6-sided dice, we're going to need to grab a pencil and our rules guide, and we're going to need to grab a piece of paper and fold it in half. Let's create our ghost. First, you're going to need to turn to the last 2 pages of the rules guide. This is going to be the ghost creation page and the ghost list with evidence. This is what we're going to use to generate our ghost. You can choose to make all of your own names and body and just use this as a reference, but this is going to be a 4-step system for creating a ghost in under a minute. Oh, I didn't realize I was being timed. Okay, so for each of these steps, you can choose between these names on the tables, or you can roll for them randomly. So first step is we're going to choose a first name. There are 12 first names on the list, so I'm going to choose Lee. All right, and then let's move on to step 2, which is choosing our last name. There are also 12 last names, so I'm going to choose Prince. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the body type, which we only have to roll 1d6, so I'll just roll a random dice, and we'll get a 3, which is housemaid. Ooh, that's cute. All right, and then let's move on to the last step, which is choosing our ghost type. You can roll 2d6 to choose a random ghost. You can roll the first one to decide the 6 group, the group of 6, the first 6, or the second 6, and then the second dice you can roll is to decide which of those 6 it is. But I'm just going to choose a white lady. So I chose a white lady, and I've created my first ghost for my location. Creating your haunted location is even easier than creating your ghost. It's only 3 steps, and it's on one table on the second page of the Ghost Master's Guide. First, we're going to roll 1d6 for the vibe, or you can choose it yourself. I'm going to choose that the vibe is lonely. And then we're going to move on to step 2, which is choosing the weather. You can either roll 1d6 or choose it. I'm going to choose overcast, and then we're going to move on to choosing the locations for the final step. I have 6 pre-made maps you can choose between or roll with. I like to offer up my players 2 different locations, and they can choose between the 2, because it doesn't really matter where you go. The prep is just all in your head besides this. It's just a blueprint for you to play through as your players explore the building. Successful investigation rolls are whenever your player successfully rolls higher than the haunt score. If they do, you give them some evidence, as long as they're in the same room as the ghost. If they aren't in the same room as the ghost, then they will get 0 evidence every time they roll over the haunt score, as long as the ghost isn't in there. If the ghost is in there and they've done it 3 times successfully, you're going to need to give them 100% proof of that device. If it's the 3rd time they've used it successfully, then you need to make sure they know that that device is 100% the one for the ghost or not. Now let's talk about failed investigation rolls. If they don't roll over the haunt score in a room without the ghost, then they're going to take 1 sanity damage for that. But if they use a device and they fail with a ghost in the room, then they're going to need to get attacked by the ghost. The ghost is going to attack them for 1d4 damage or 1d6 minus 2, minimum of 1. There are 6 different states a ghost can be in. Every time a gadget is used, you need to roll a d6 to decide which of the 6 options to choose. 1 is idling. The ghost will stay in the same room that it was in before. 2 is roaming. You can either close roam or far roam. You can decide that with a dice, or you can just decide it in the moment. And then 3 is their favorite room. Some ghosts don't have a favorite room, some do, but the special abilities pamphlet will give you more information on that. 4 is interaction. The ghost is going to interact with an object in the room it's in. That's not a random encounter, which we'll talk about in a second, but it is an encounter. And then there is 5, which is attack. Attack is going to be a 1d4 attack from the ghost if the ghost is in the same room with somebody. If the ghost is in the room with somebody, then it's not going to attack anybody. And then 6 is its special ability, which you can learn more about on the special abilities pamphlet. A haunt can start in 2 different ways. One is if a player is using both Big Brave Boy bonuses at the same time. If they do, you need to roll a 50-50 chance dice to see if the haunt starts. Then the other way is a 100% chance of the haunt happening, is if everybody in the houses or building sanity is below 5. So if somebody steps outside and their sanity is at 6, and everybody else in that building's sanity was below 5, then the haunt starts and the doors lock. What happens during a haunt? There are 3 different phases of the haunt. 1 is the initial attack. The ghost is going to go to the nearest player and attack them for 1d4 damage or 1d6 minus 2 damage. And then there's the second phase of the haunt. The ghost will then roll a 1d6 dice and then attack another player or the same player for that amount of damage. Then the third phase of the haunt. The ghost will then need to be rolled for a 50-50 chance dice to see if the haunt will happen again. And this can keep going on and on and on infinitely if the ghost has great odds, which it normally doesn't, but it still can. When it comes to the lights going out, I personally like to do a 50-50 chance dice roll every orbit of players. So every time that all of the players have gone, I will roll a 50-50 chance dice to see if the main lights go out. And then sometimes I'll do just a random roll for the flashlights, or sometimes I'll just decide that the flashlights don't work in certain situations. If the ghost is in there and they've been like taunting them or whatever, or if it's like for a good moment to put them in complete darkness and make them take a sanity damage or something. It could be a really impactful moment in the adventure. You can roll random encounters as much as you want in this game, but just know that every time a player finds one, they will get a +1 to their next roll. So this is a great way to actually help your players out and kind of give them a bone by giving them a lot of +1s to their rolls, because sometimes this game can be very difficult. So having random encounters is helpful for the players, and it's fun and great for storytelling and giving you some ideas to bounce off of. And you can just pick the random encounters as well, but you also can roll on them. There are 16 random encounters on a table in my game. The way player action should work in this game is by having your players either, if they just want to roll a d6 and take the higher number, they can, or they can roll 2 dice and add a class bonus from one of their 3 classes. And this could be used like a gear check against the haunt score. So you can just do an opposing check against the haunt score to see if they succeed or fail doing their actions if something's going on. Well, this is the end of the video, and I really appreciate you making it all the way here. If you don't mind, go down and give me a like and subscribe if you like my content and want to see more. I'll be uploading more content soon about not just my TTRPG, but DMing as a whole and being a writer and a game master. So I really appreciate you coming here. And if you want to see more content from me, go check out my Patreon page. I'll be uploading new videos there every month. and I will also be having my games coming out monthly over there. So I really appreciate you checking it out, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.